How you doing? It is April 8th, around 4:45 p.m. We are at the peak of the coronavirus, or at least I hope. So it's been 3 or 4 weeks or so of isolation life, and about the only thing I have been doing is working from home remotely, which I'm fortunate to have that. And as soon as I can, just busting out and hitting public land, looking for sheds, scouting, just scouting. Just checking out some spots that I think might be of high value due to their nature. On this piece of public land is split into 4 chunks, and the one I'm on right now, I'll have to check the acreage, but it's pretty small and it looks like it's mostly swamp on X. But now that I'm here, I think it's about 20% dry land, 80% swamp for sure. Already 10 minutes in, really annoying climbing through all this brush and trying to find my way across these puddles of water. The ground is so unstable, but I'm on a stable spot. And just as I hoped to find, I found some bedding back here. No sign if it's buck bedding or anything, but definitely some consistent tracks coming in and out of it, and plenty of hair on the ground. Lots of hair, so it's a good start. I'm gonna try and speed scout this, and because it's so small, I'm gonna kind of just do my best to do a perimeter and take some notes. If I do find any sign or bedding, then I'll come back to it later and maybe give it a little more time. But I do want to get back in the car and check out another section of this 4 pieces of public land. So here's some shots of the bed. So I'd come in from that way, and then you hit a wall and it's just swamp like this pretty much, and I'm just hopping around and trying to step on these very unstable grass root piles, and I did my best to follow these footprints in. Here we are. Some definite bedding. Tons of hair everywhere. Pretty cool spot. Only a little over 100 yards away from the road, but to get in here, you'd make a whole lot of noise. I'd say this spot, the deer would be pretty well protected. I did continue to look around that swamp, and it was pretty rough. Barely any dry land. I did do my best to go around the entire perimeter of it, and I just wasn't happy with it, so I got out of there. So I hopped in the car, drove 3 minutes down the road to another section of it. I call it part 2, and I did 4.7 miles in about 2 hours. So I was cruising pretty quick. I didn't manage to find any sheds, and there wasn't a whole lot of sign either, but I just did my best to follow all the really worn in trails, and there was 2 sections that I marked that I really liked. Sort of like, they were pretty much like pinch points. And I even followed a trail going up and over all these really big piles of rocks, which I did not expect to find. So deer do crawl over rocks, and I just always thought they avoided it. So that's a myth buster in my book. But today I'm on my my own property of 14.5 acres, and I'm just kind of looking for morels, potentially some early ones. Heard they're popping up, and it's been 4 weeks since I've walked around here, so maybe a shed if I get lucky. And coming into this one corner of my property, I just found a bed, and it's pretty worn in, lots of hair, so I'll show you that before I move on. Also just noticed these rubs coming back here. I'm not sure how long ago these were made, but there is still some debris on top of the leaves here. It's a good one. It is the 11th of April, 4 p.m. Scouting an area I've never been to before on the very side edge of the Poconos. First time up here, and in about an hour of walking, maybe less, just found a really nice primary bedding area. And it's torn up everywhere. There's like a plateau, nice flat spot, tons of hair, and lots of cover, young trees growing everywhere. So mark this down. All right, it's a new day, April 14th. I've been scouting for about 2 hours. It is now 6:15 p.m. I just spent quite a bit of time walking slow and really scouring this south side of a mountaintop. Peaks at 1,100 feet, which is pretty big for this area. And I was really liking it. I found tons of sign, a lot of scraped up ground, whether it be from turkeys or deer, just lifting up the leaves for acorns. There was just a lot of sign and tons of beds. Just hoping to find a shed in one of them, but I didn't. And it's been easily 30 or 40 miles since I found my last shed, so when I found this little guy, I was pretty happy. He's by no means the biggest shed in the world, and it's got some chew going on, but I'll take it. So the south side of the mountain is over there, and I was just kind of weaving through all these rocks here, and from about 30 feet or so I saw this, and I had to double check. I ran up first and made sure it wasn't a stick that was all moldy and white. I've seen a few of those today, and they'll trick you. Now for the first touch. Year and a half year old. It's probably been here for, I'd say, 2 years, maybe 3, but my guess is 2 years. Still a cool find. Now this property is about 120 acres. Last night I scouted one half for about 3 hours, didn't find a thing. I did find some spots I will definitely be hunting early next season. But as far as sheds go, none of that. Good day. It is a chilly, windy day, April 16th. It is about 5 p.m. I brought 3 new trail cameras with me today, and I'm revisiting a couple of spots that I liked and just want to try to accumulate some intel. I've got 2 lone wolf sticks with me. I'll make sure I keep the cameras high because this is public land, and just hope the best for my cameras as far as not getting stolen. So my first stop is at this small 40 or 50 acre swamp parcel. There isn't really a whole lot of hunting sign here, and as a matter of fact, I don't think anyone really has the courage to hunt it because there's no trails, no access trails throughout the thing, and it's surrounded by private except for the entrance, but the entrance doesn't get you into the woods. You have to bypass swamps immediately. It's a real pain in the ass, but that's kind of why I'm liking it. And I realized looking at on X when I got out of my car, there was a section that I hadn't bothered to walk through yet, so that's what I'm in now. And about maybe only 400 or 500 yards away from the car, I just found a little isolated patch of dry land in the swamp, and it's got a bed. The bed is kind of guarded with a boulder in between two trees. Let's have a look at it. So I came in from the edge of the swamp, crawled through all this, and there's lots of water back in that direction, but I found a little dry strip here leading me to this patch of dry land. And that's a bed. So I marked that down. That's a pretty good sign. I think this is the first bed I found on this property. Besides that, just a lot of good heavy trails running through horizontally left to right of the property. And I had planned on putting a camera up over there. So I'm gonna keep exploring this area. And over there that way, there's still a few acres left of property I haven't seen. So I'm gonna check that out and show you guys where I end up putting my cameras. All right, so got out of that small swamp section that I was just in. Did find that nice bed, but it's just a little too close to some other private property for me to really get into it. Plus, navigation is even more difficult than the section I'm in now, and this is bad enough. But I do really like this area. This is my second time here, and I just found a good spot to set up a trail camera. Coming in, there is the smallest cut off of the main trail from the parking lot, but that's all this place has to offer. There's one cut up the side of the game land, and it doesn't lead to anywhere but other posted private property. So you have to cut in through these pricker bushes, and it's about a foot of swamp there, so you got to dance through that. And then if you can manage to stay on the footpath of the deer, which is pretty hard to see, it'll get you back here the best, but it's not easy. So coming back here, I was on and off that footpath, but when I did get back on it, I always was checking my direction, the compass, and it was heading southwest pretty much the entire time that I was on it. I found a nice rub from last season. It was kind of tall. It was definitely not a little Y-buck making that, but just kept heading southwest. And eventually I hit this small clearing that I'm in, and right away I noticed the ground was torn up. It looked like deer had been feeding in here, possibly birds, but to me it looks like they were shuffling for acorns. And I looked around, and the trail cuts right through it, still facing southwest. So I decided to set up a trail camera, get off on the side, and get them using this trail. I used 2 lone wolf sticks to get it up there nice and high. Hopefully nobody sees it. I have a hard time believing anybody would find it here, but let's just hope that nobody does. So here's that setup. So this is where I came in from. It's tough to see on camera, but there is a trail coming right through here. It exits right down there. Notice all the ground is torn up pretty good, whether it's for vegetation or acorns, I'm not totally sure. And it's a relatively small clearing, and all I did was set up in this tree right here. 1 stick, 2 stick, camera.